Unit 7. Word list. Abandon. To abandon something is to leave it forever or for a long time.
The old room had been abandoned years before.
Ambitious. If someone is ambitious, they want to be rich or successful.
Kendra had to be ambitious to get into medical school.
Bark. When a dog barks, it makes a short, loud noise.
The dog barked loudly and frighteningly.
Bay. A bay is an area near the ocean where the land goes inward.
The Golden Gate Bridge crosses San Francisco Bay.
Brilliant. If someone is brilliant, they are very smart.
My younger sister is brilliant for someone her age.
Chin. Your chin is the hard part at the bottom of your face.
Luke pointed to the hair on his chin.
Complaint. A complaint is something you say to tell people that you don't like something.
Mom said she didn't want to hear my brother's complaints.
Deaf. When someone is deaf, they cannot hear.
Susan was born deaf.
Enthusiastic. To be enthusiastic about something is to be excited by or interested in it.
The man was enthusiastic about his job.
Expedition. An expedition is a long trip, usually to a place very far away.
They got into their spaceship to begin their expedition.
Horizon. The horizon is where the sky looks like it meets the ground.
The sun dipped below the horizon.
Loyal. To be loyal to something or someone is to agree to always help them.
The three friends are very loyal to each other.
Mayor. The mayor is the person in charge of a city.
The mayor of my hometown is quite a powerful speaker.
Mutual. If something is mutual, it is felt in the same way by two or more people.
Robert likes Sarah. The feeling is mutual.
Overweight. If someone is overweight, they are very fat.
Roger eats too much, so now he's overweight.
Refuge. A refuge is a place where you go to be safe.
When it started to rain, she found refuge in the house.
Restore. To restore something is to put it back the way it was.
Victor restored the old car.
Rub. To rub something is to push on it and move your hand back and forth.
Mom's feet were sore, so she rubbed them.
Senses. Your senses are how you see, taste, hear, feel, and smell.
It would be hard to live without your five senses.
Veterinarian. A veterinarian is a doctor that takes care of animals.
Wanda became a veterinarian because she loves dogs.
Patsy Ann. A long time ago in Alaska, a dog named Patsy Ann watched the horizon. Every day she waited by the bay for ships returning from an expedition. Patsy Ann was a brilliant dog and she was very unique. She was deaf. She couldn't bark either. But she used all of her other senses to know when a ship was near. Patsy Ann lived on the streets. Her owners did not want her because she could not hear, so they abandoned her. She found refuge in a fancy hotel. Guests rubbed her back and scratched her chin. Many people gave her food. She became quite overweight. She became very famous. Visitors to Alaska were enthusiastic about meeting her. They brought presents for her. They liked seeing her, and the feeling was mutual. The mayor said Patsy Ann should be called the town's greeter. The people in town loved Patsy Ann too, even though she lived on the streets. They were willing to fight to keep her. A new law made all dogs wear a collar and get shots. The mayor received many complaints. People wanted Patsy Ann to be able to stay. One ambitious sailor got people to help. Together, they paid for Patsy Ann to go to the veterinarian. She got her shots and collar. she could stay. When Patsy Ann died, everyone missed the town's loyal greeter. So, the mayor hired someone to make a statue of Patsy Ann. He restored the town's greeter. Now, she sits at the dock forever, waiting for ships to come home. Unit 8. Word List. Anniversary. An anniversary is a day that celebrates something from the past.
My parents went out to eat for their wedding anniversary.
Arithmetic. Arithmetic is math.
I like to study arithmetic at school.
Ashamed. To be ashamed is to feel upset because you did something wrong or bad.
He was ashamed when he found out that I knew about his past.
Burst. To burst is to suddenly break open or apart.
The bomb burst over the city.
Carpenter. A carpenter is a person who builds things with wood.
We hired a carpenter to make a cupboard.
Coal. Coal is a hard black rock that you burn for heat.
Many power stations burn coal to produce energy.
Couch. A couch is a long, soft seat that many people can sit on.
Kim and Martin's new couch was very expensive.
Drip. When a liquid drips, just a little bit falls at a time.
I heard water dripping from the faucet.
Elegant. If something is elegant, it is very fancy and pleasing.
In Japan, women wear elegant kimonos on special occasions.
Fabric. Fabric is cloth used to make clothes, furniture, etc.
The towels were made from a soft fabric.
Highlands. The highlands are high areas of land, usually with mountains.
The man had a small home in the highlands.
Ivory. Ivory is a white, hard substance that comes from elephants.
The elephant's long ivory tusks looked very impressive.
Mill. A mill is a building where flour is made.
The farmer took his wheat to the mill to make it into flour.
Needle. A needle is a small, sharp piece of metal that you use to make or fix clothes.
I used a needle to fix the hole in my pants.
Polish. To polish something is to rub it in order to make it shiny.
Mark spent all morning polishing his shoes for the wedding.
Sew. To sew means to put pieces of cloth together using string.
I learned to sew when I was a little girl.
Shed. A shed is a small building where you store things like tools.
We have a small shed in the backyard for storage.
Thread. A thread is a thin piece of string.
I have many different colors of thread at home.
Trim. To trim something is to cut it a little bit.
I had my hair trimmed this afternoon.
Upwards. If something goes upwards, it moves vertically higher.
The kite went upwards further and further. The anniversary gift. Joe was a carpenter. He built houses in the highlands. Joe's wife Stella used a needle and thread to sew elegant clothing. She only used beautiful fabric to make clothes. Since they didn't have a lot of money, they lived in an old shed. Water dripped in when it rained. They had broken chairs instead of a couch. But they had coal for heat and flour from the mill for bread. Together, they trimmed the bushes to make their house look nice. Joe and Stella were poor, but not ashamed. They were happy. Sometimes in the evening, they walked downtown. They looked in store windows and dreamed. Stella wanted a hairbrush with an ivory handle. She pulled her hair upwards every day because she didn't have a brush to make it nice. Joe wanted to fix his grandfather's watch. For their anniversary, Stella wanted to get Joe what he wanted. But then she did the arithmetic. It would take at least 6 months to save enough money. Then she had an idea. She cut off all of her hair and sold it. Meanwhile, Joe knew that he could never fix his watch, so he polished it and sold it. He made enough to buy the brush. On their anniversary, the door burst open. Joe was excited to give Stella his gift, but first, Stella gave him the money to fix the watch. When he saw his wife without any hair, he smiled. "I sold my watch to buy you something," Joe said. He gave her the brush, and she laughed. They were both willing to give up something very special to make each other happy.
Unit 9. Word list. Ail. To ail a person or group is to cause difficulty or pain.
My brother went to the doctor to see what was ailing him.
Ally. An ally is someone who agrees to help or support you.
I was happy to find many allies who shared the same opinion as me.
Boast. To boast is to talk about how good you are.
We all became tired of listening to him boast about himself all day.
Bounce. To bounce is to move something up and away from a surface after hitting it.
Owen bounced the ball on the ground.
Bully. A bully is a person who is mean to others.
The two bullies always picked on the smaller, weaker kids.
Carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are substances in foods like bread that give you energy.
Carbohydrates like rice are a good source of energy for active people.
Crawl. To crawl is to move slowly on your hands and knees.
The baby crawled across the floor.
Defeat. To defeat someone is to beat them in a game or battle.
The champion defeated the challenger in the boxing match.
Dial. A dial is the front of a clock.
I looked at the dial to see what time it was.
Dominant. When someone or something is dominant, they are stronger than others.
The gorilla is one of the dominant animals in the jungle.
Mercy. If you show mercy, you choose not to punish or harm someone.
He asked his boss for mercy and to not fire him.
Nod. To nod is to move your head up and down.
I nodded my head as I listened to the song.
Opponent. An opponent is someone who fights against you.
On the field, our opponents were too good for us.
Quarrel. To quarrel is to argue or fight.
Billy quarreled with his wife about buying a new house.
Rival. A rival is someone that is trying to keep you from getting what you want.
The three rivals were all competing for the same job.
Sore. When a part of your body is sore, it hurts.
After lifting the heavy box, Mona's back was sore.
Sting. To sting is to cause pain by pushing a sharp part into the skin.
The needle stung my arm and made me say ouch.
Strain. To strain is to try very hard.
Casey strained to lift the heavy box.
Torture. Torture is something that causes you physical or mental pain.
Greg thought that writing the essay was torture.
Wrestle. To wrestle is to play a game where you try to push someone to the floor.
My dad loved to wrestle when he was in high school.
Dalton versus the bully. Dalton was a nice boy, but sometimes the other boys made fun of him because he was so tall and skinny. Dalton's biggest problem was Mitch. He was a bully who boasted about his strength. He quarreled with the other boys. Sometimes, if boys gave Mitch their lunch money, he would have mercy and leave them alone. One day, the boys learned about a special middle school Olympics. Their gym class was going to be in it. Many kids were excited, but Dalton thought it sounded like torture. That morning, Dalton ate plenty of carbohydrates for breakfast. He entered the gym and looked at the dial on the clock. It was time to begin. The teacher asked if they were ready. Everyone nodded, except Dalton. "I got stung by a bee. I need to see the nurse," said Dalton. He made it up so he wouldn't have to play. "I don't believe you. Get ready to play," responded the coach. First, they wrestled. Then they jumped, crawled, and played other games. But Mitch was dominant in every event. They strained all morning to defeat him. By lunch they were sore. Their entire bodies ailed them. They thought about how to win. They knew the last game of the day was volleyball. Kids who used to be Dalton's rivals became his allies. They wanted him to help them beat Mitch. Dalton was going to be Mitch's opponent. The game started. Every time Mitch tried to hit the ball over the net, Dalton stopped it. Finally, Mitch used all of his strength, but the ball bounced off Dalton's hands and back into Mitch's face. Finally, Mitch was defeated. Unit 10. Word list. Absence. Absence is the state of something being away.
There is an absence of sand in the hourglass.
Aloud. If you say something aloud, you say it so that others can hear you.
My father often reads stories aloud to me and my sister.
Bald. If someone is bald, they have no hair.
My oldest brother is bald.
Blanket. A blanket is a piece of cloth that you use to keep warm or to sit upon.
I laid a blanket on the ground so that we could have a picnic.
Creep. To creep is to move quietly and slowly.
The cat slowly crept down the tree.
Divorce. Divorce is an event in which a marriage is ended.
Divorce rates have increased in the past 20 years.
Imitate. To imitate someone is to do exactly what they do.
He imitated his favorite superhero by putting on a costume.
Infant. An infant is a baby.
The infant cried all night.
Kidnap. To kidnap someone is to take them illegally.
She was terrified to find out her son was kidnapped.
Nap. A nap is a short sleep, usually during the day.
I took a short nap because I stayed up late last night.
Nowhere. You use nowhere to say that a place or thing does not exist.
Unfortunately, water was nowhere to be found.
Pat. To pat something is to hit it softly with your hand.
I patted some lotion onto my face.
Relief. Relief is a feeling you get when something bad or challenging ends.
I felt a sense of relief when I heard the good news.
Reproduce. To reproduce is to make something exactly how someone else did it.
The children tried to reproduce their house using toy blocks.
Rhyme. To rhyme is to have the same sounds at the end of a word.
Humpty Dumpty is an old rhyme that children learn in school.
Suck. To suck is to put something in your mouth and try to get flavor out of it.
The baby sucked milk from her bottle.
Urgent. If something is urgent, it is important and needs to be done now.
He had to leave now. It was urgent.
Vanish. To vanish is to go away suddenly.
All the passengers vanished from the train station.
Wagon. A wagon is a cart you use to carry heavy things.
He used his wagon to carry some of his gifts.
Wrinkle. A wrinkle is a line on a person's face that happens as they get old.
My grandfather has some wrinkles on his face. Anna the babysitter. Since her parents got a divorce, Anna has had to help her mother. In her mother's absence, Anna takes care of Grace, the baby. At first, Anna thought it was an easy job. One afternoon, Anna played with Grace. She meowed like a cat, and Grace imitated her. In fact, Grace reproduced every sound that Anna made. She took her sister outside. She put Grace in the wagon, but there was nowhere for them to go, so they went back inside. Anna put the infant on the floor and went into her room. But when she came back, Grace had vanished. Anna looked everywhere, but she could not find her sister. Maybe the baby had been kidnapped. "Where are you?" Anna called aloud. The situation was becoming urgent. She wanted to call her mom, but she didn't want her to think Anna couldn't do the job. Anna sat down. What was she going to do? But then, Anna heard something. It was coming from her room. "Grace?" She got down on her knees and looked under the bed. She could see Grace's bald head. Grace had followed Anna into her room and crept under the bed. "What a relief!" Anna cried. She picked up her sister and patted her on the head. Her head was soft and had no wrinkles. Grace was sucking on her thumb and looked tired. So Anna wrapped her in a blanket and sang rhymes for her. Then she put Grace in bed for a nap. After that afternoon, Anna knew that taking care of Grace was not an easy job. It takes a lot of work to take care of a baby.
Unit 11. Word list. Abnormal. If something is abnormal, it is strange or not normal.
Her idea of art is a bit too abnormal for me.
Bamboo. Bamboo is a hard plant with thin branches and leaves.
Outside his home, there's a lot of bamboo.
Blossom. A blossom is a flower or group of flowers.
There were colorful blossoms in the yard.
Compass. A compass is a device used to tell what direction one is going.
A compass is an important tool to have when you are traveling.
Dialect. A dialect is a regional variety of language showing where you are from.
People from the UK have a different dialect of English from those in the US.
Dishonest. If someone is dishonest, they do not tell the truth.
She was being dishonest when she copied the answers from his test.
Dwarf. A dwarf is a creature from stories that often looks like a short, hairy man.
The dwarf had a pleasant look on his face.
Ecosystem. An ecosystem is a group of plants and animals in an area.
The river's ecosystem not only includes fish, but other insects and plants too.
Fatal. If something is fatal, it causes death.
They passed away in a fatal car crash.
Impatient. If someone is impatient, they are not able to wait for things.
Bob was so impatient that he could barely wait for the light to turn green.
Leaf. A leaf is the flat green thing on trees or bushes.
In the fall, the leaves on the trees change colors.
Manuscript. A manuscript is an old book or paper written by hand.
The manuscript was written over 150 years ago.
Marsh. A marsh is a type of wet land covered with grasses and short plants.
The marsh looked so lovely against the mountains.
Patience. Patience is the ability to wait for something without becoming upset.
Sue's patience was rewarded by catching her very first fish.
Perfume. Perfume is a good-smelling liquid that girls wear.
When she wore her perfume, everyone said she smelled great.
Pond. A pond is a very small area of water.
The ducks swam in the pond.
Proverb. A proverb is a short saying that tells you something important.
The proverb, egg on your face, means you've done something embarrassing.
Pursuit. A pursuit is a chase.
The dinosaur was in pursuit of the caveman.
Recite. To recite something means to repeat or say aloud in front of a group.
Katie recited the Pledge of Allegiance in class.
Wilderness. A wilderness is an area where no people live.
If you are not careful, you can get lost in the wilderness.
Peter and the Dwarf. Peter was a hunter. One day he was in pursuit of a deer and became lost. He usually carried a compass with him when he went into the wilderness, but that day he left it at home. As he walked, the forest began to look different. He didn't see any bamboo. Instead, there were bushes with long leaves. The ecosystem was now very abnormal. Peter knew he was in the magic marsh. Now he was tired and thirsty. He was afraid. Being lost in the marsh could be fatal. When people entered it, they never came out. At last he found a pond. Flowers grew around it. The blossoms smelled like the best perfume. He felt relaxed, so he drank some water and fell asleep. When he awoke, he saw an evil dwarf staring at him. "What are you doing here?" it asked. The dwarf spoke in a strange dialect. "I'm lost," said Peter. "Can you help me?" "Yes," it said, but Peter didn't know it was dishonest. The dwarf took an old manuscript from his pocket. It was a magic map. "Just recite the words at the bottom," the dwarf explained. "It will show you how to get home." "Good," Peter said. He was impatient and quickly grabbed the map. He recited the magic words, and a line appeared on the map. He walked for many days but never left the marsh. Finally, the map led him back to the pond. He walked in a circle. The dwarf was still there. "Here's a proverb for you to think about," it said. "When patience is lost, then so are you." Unit 12. Word list. Anticipate. To anticipate something is to think that it will happen.
Carrie anticipated the arrival of her baby.
Barrel. A barrel is a round thing that you can keep liquids in.
There was an empty barrel outside the house.
Beam. A beam is a heavy bar.
Modern skyscrapers are made with several beams.
Casual. If something is casual, it is relaxed or simple.
You can wear casual clothes to the party like jeans.
Caution. Caution is care and attention in order to avoid danger.
Please use the power saw with caution. It is very dangerous.
Contrary. If something is contrary to something else, it is the opposite.
It isn't warm outside at all. On the contrary, it is quite cold.
Deliberate. If you are deliberate, you do something on purpose.
Bernie made a deliberate attempt to injure Andy.
Dissolve. To dissolve something is to mix it into a liquid and disappear.
I dissolved the pill in a glass of water.
Explode. When something explodes, it blows up.
My new radio exploded when I plugged it in.
Fasten. To fasten something is to close it or put it in the correct place.
Elizabeth fastened her seatbelt.
Germ. A germ is something that makes you sick.
Germs are on everything that you touch.
Kit. A kit is a set of all the things needed to do something.
Is there a first aid kit in your office?
Puff. A puff is a little bit of smoke or steam.
A puff of smoke came from the burnt match.
Rag. A rag is a small towel.
Please use a rag to clean the dust off the table.
Scatter. To scatter something is to make it go in many places.
I accidentally scattered all of my pills.
Scent. A scent is a smell.
Julie enjoyed the scent of the flowers.
Steal. Steel is a shiny gray metal.
The new apartment building was made with steel.
Swift. If something is swift, it is fast.
The swift horse easily jumped over the hurdle.
Toss. If you toss something, you throw it softly.
He tossed a coin into the air.
Triumph. Triumph is what you feel when you win or finish something.
He raised the award in triumph at the end of his speech. The ice cream cone explosion. One day, John walked to his uncle's ice cream shop. When he reached the sidewalk, he caught the scent of ice cream cones and anticipated eating some ice cream. Sam opened the door. Uncle John had a new steel machine. What is that? It's a cone maker. I built it from a kit. You take flour from the barrel and put it in this pan, Uncle John said. Then add water and sugar here and stir it so the sugar dissolves. Next, you fasten down the beam. Uncle John wanted to look casual, but he was excited. He made a few swift motions and turned it on. There was a puff of smoke, and then cones came out the other end. Is it hard to use? Sam asked. On the contrary, it's easy to use. Want to try? Sam washed his hands with caution. He made a deliberate attempt to keep germs out of the dough. Soon, Sam had his first cone. He smiled in triumph. Uncle John tried to turn the machine off, but it just kept making cones. Sam and Uncle John put them on the counter, then on chairs. Before long, cones scattered all over the floor. They tried everything to stop it, but it wouldn't stop. What are we going to do? He said. Kick it, yelled Sam. Uncle John lifted his foot and gave the machine a kick. It made a funny noise and exploded. They were both covered with dough. Uncle John laughed when he knew Sam was okay. He tossed Sam a rag to clean his face and smiled. I guess we have enough cones now.